Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us here tonight. We have a really awesome discussion planned for you in honor of Juneteenth and centering the experience of Black families talking to their kids about cancer. I'm Kelsey Mora. I'm the Chief Clinical Officer of Pickles Group, and I'm really excited to be here with you all tonight. We did have a lot of people register, so we'll let people in as they arrive, but we want to be mindful of your time and get started right away. And then anyone who registered will also receive the recording and the slides. So we recognize that sometimes things can come up and be tricky. So we will definitely make sure everyone gets the information. This webinar and parent panel is in collaboration with amazing organizations, including Living Beyond Breast Cancer, Touch, the Black Breast Cancer Alliance, Zero Prostate Cancer, and Sisters Working It Out. And they'll have a chance to explain a little bit more about their organizations at the end of our talk. I just want to explain who Pickles Group is, since this talk is really focused on kids who are impacted by a parent's cancer. That's our core mission, is providing free peer-to-peer support and resources for kids and teens impacted by their parents' or guardians' cancer. And the way that we do that is in three main ways. We focus on honest and age-appropriate information, coping skills, and a connection to peers. So I'm going to provide a little bit of tips on what we recommend in terms of how to talk to kids about cancer, and then we will hear from our panelists as well. In terms of the agenda, what you can expect for the next 50 plus minutes is I'm going to cover developmental responses to cancer. And so really covering the age ranges from infancy through adolescence. We're going to take a closer look at Pickles Group's Family Cancer Support Kit. And so what that means is 3 main tips for having difficult conversations about cancer with kids and teenagers. We'll have our family panel and discussion, and then we'll hear from our partner organizations as well as their resources. Before we get started, I want to turn it over to Haley from Touch to talk to us a little bit about Juneteenth and just recognize why we're all here together and why this is so important to center the experience of Black families. So Haley, I'll turn it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. Thank you guys for being here. Just wanted to spend a second, again, Haley Brown from Touch, but just want to take a second to really ground ourselves in why we're here celebrating Juneteenth today and kind of give us a chance to think about the things that we do and don't know about this holiday. I think that most of us are still really learning about what this holiday means to our families, our communities, and to people that precede us. And so I think that this is a cute moment to just think about this. So I invite everyone to use the chat right now. So go ahead and open your chat and we'll do a little quick trivia moment in honor of Juneteenth. So the first question is, what does Juneteenth celebrate? Go ahead and throw your answers to the chat. If you are like me, you may have known an aspect of it, but not the exact specifics of some of these questions. So go ahead and let's get you guys engaged today. And sorry, my dog is drinking water beside me. Yes, so in honor of, to keep things moving quickly and people are saying the right thing, it is indeed the when the last slaves received word that they were free, right? And so I think it's really important to mark the date of actual freedom, which I think is what Juneteenth is all about. Next, in what year did Juneteenth become a federal holiday? And yes, they were freed in Galveston, Texas in 1865. And what year? Yes, we're all saying the right things. Thank you to Barack Obama for making this a federal holiday, because it was officially that in 2021. Next, what drink is traditionally associated with Juneteenth? This is something I didn't know, so I was happy to learn something new myself. This is not a beverage for adults. This is a beverage for all. I was going to guess something gingery as well. It's actually hibiscus tea, originated in West Africa. Yeah, fun fact. Again, this is good for us to think of things that we do and don't know. And then what is another name for Juneteenth? There are many answers here. And just again, in the sake of time, yes, Freedom Day, Emancipation Day, and Jubilee Day are all commonly used names. And just to again ground us in this work, here's a quote from Barack Obama: Juneteenth has never been a celebration of victory or an acceptance of the way things are. It's a celebration of progress. It's an affirmation that despite the most painful parts of our history, change is possible, and there is still so much work to do. So thank you, Barack Obama, and thank you guys for enjoying or choosing this to celebrate Juneteenth. And here we can go.
Awesome. Thank you, Haley, for grounding us in that. And also I recognize, we initially were going to do Juneteenth and we moved it to the 18th. So I'm really hopeful that everyone is finding more ways than one to celebrate the emancipation of slavery and honor families and communities alike. So hope spend the night with us and hopefully have other plans tomorrow. All right, so I'm going to start talking a little bit about development. So when we think about development, a lot of times people think, infants and toddlers, they're too young to understand or remember. And I challenge that a little bit. Of course, the little ones, have a hard time understanding or being aware of what's going on, but they do sense changes in their environment. So we know, little ones when they're crying and a parent, is trying to calm them down and that parent is feeling really anxious and stressed that their baby's crying, that baby's going to have a harder time calming down. And so when we think about, I know we have some organizations here representing, breast cancer. And so when we think about like a young toddler whose mom is having a double mastectomy and coming home with drains and not being able to hold that baby is going to notice that change. Maybe there's more family around, maybe they're being cared for by someone else, they've moved houses, their parents in the hospital. And so it's just important to recognize that infants and toddlers can feel those changes too. And I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the ways we can help all ages. In terms of preschoolers, this is the age that's really curious. They might have a lot of questions, they notice a lot of things, but they also relate it to what's familiar to them. So when we think about our preschoolers, we think about runny noses and coughs and boogers, and they're taught, to not share germs or, they're all coughing on each other. And so when we only talk about cancer as a sickness, there can be a lot of confusion. They might think it's contagious. They might think they'll get better quickly. They might think that they could catch it, or that they might even think they caused it. And so it's really important to talk about cancer as a different type of sickness to help these little ones understand more about what's going on and what's coming in a way that's appropriate for their age. And then elementary age. So this is a group that's going to have more understanding, but they might have misinformation. If we think about school agers, they're spending more time with friends, they're at school, maybe they have, internet. And so they might be researching things if they don't think that they can talk to their trusted adults about it. And they might actually get false information. And so we want to try to help this age group know that, hey, this is an okay thing for us to talk about. I actually want you to get information from me because I'm worried about you getting information that's not correct or that's different than our lived experience. If they're searching things, they might actually find things that don't match their specific situation. So it can actually be scarier. And then teenagers definitely are more likely to understand, but might be thinking a lot about big picture. Teenagers have a lot going on. They're busy with school and activities. They might be thinking, well, how's this going to affect me? Or, I want to keep doing things that are important to me, but I also want to help my family. How do I balance that? So teenagers are definitely have a lot of their own concerns and worries that need to know that, they can still be kids and they can talk about those things, but there might be some responsibility that they're navigating as teenagers as well. The family support kit that we provide is something that's available both in English and Spanish, and it's a resource that hospitals can give out, but also families can request. And so this is a free resource, and it has 3 main tips in there for how to talk to kids about cancer. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time on those 3 tips. Those 3 tips are sharing information, sharing expectations, and sharing feelings. So in terms of the first one being sharing information, this is really about opening the lines of communication. We don't have to talk about everything with kids. I know there can be a lot of privacy and pride and protection as parents that we want to preserve for kids. But if we don't talk about anything, sometimes kids might, they're still thinking about it and worrying about it. And so when thinking about how to begin those conversations, you might think about who should be the one doing that? Where should I do that? And so trying to find those kind of neutral spaces and places. And I always say, trying to make sure kids are in their best state as much as possible, like not hungry, not tired, because that can make those conversations harder. But they also might not reciprocate that same level of thoughtfulness. So they might catch you when you're hungry or you're tired or you're running between things. And so really helping them have the best outcomes from a conversation and giving them a warning, saying something like, have something important to talk to you about. When we think about who should have those conversations, it always makes sense for that to be their most trusted adult, but definitely don't want parents feeling like they have to have those conversations alone. So if there's an auntie or a grandma or a friend or a neighbor, or someone who can support you in those difficult conversations, that can be really helpful. Using real words is so important. So I talked a lot about this concept of little kids worrying about cancer as a sickness or an illness and not being able to distinguish what's different about cancer. And so one thing that we do at Pickles Group is we talk about cancer as a problem with the cells. And so in our programming, we teach kids about the cells. We talk about how treatment's job is to get rid of those cancer cells as much as possible. And if kids ask really hard questions, it's also okay to say, I don't know. I don't know right now. That's a great question. As soon as I have more information, I'll follow up with you. And so I was just talking to Ashley from Living Behind Breast Cancer about this recently. We were talking a lot about how kids can feel so relieved when they're given some information, because a lot of times they kind of feel like they don't have to try to make sense of what's happening around them on their own or like solve these mysteries. They're like, oh, my parent is telling me or my caregiver is telling me. That's helpful. And so in thinking about how much to share, really important to start with the need to know, like what's happening right now. We can get really far in front of us. There's so much that's being thrown at families. And it's really important to kind of just focus on what's happening right now for the kids. What are they going to see? What are they going to experience? Maybe a parent's in the hospital. Maybe a parent has low energy. Maybe a parent has medical equipment. So what are they going to see? And then when we talk about that, that can kind of lead them to the questions. What do they want to know more about? And usually if kids are asking questions, they're feeling ready for more information. And they'll self-dose how much they can handle. So if they've kind of like had enough, it's really normal for them to want to go play or want to go talk to their friends. And really, that doesn't mean a conversation went poorly. It just means they're showing you what they can handle. They're showing you that they've had enough, and they know that they can come back when they have more questions or concerns. So really just like opening the lines of communication, trying to, I think, break those cycles of like, we don't talk about this, or, we don't want our kids to be scared, when kids do sometimes feel more scared by what they don't know and understand. And I've heard from so many parents who tell me like, my parents didn't talk about this and I wish they did. I'm trying to figure out how to do this with my own kids. And so that's really what we're trying to help parents with at Pickles Group. The second tip is sharing expectations. So when we think about that, there's going to be so much that changes when there's cancer. I'm sure we'll hear about it from our panelists tonight. And so for kids, really helping them understand what's going to be different, but also what's going to be the same, because not everything has to be different. You're still going to go to school, but the neighbor's going to take you, or you're going to take the bus, or like what's going to change, but what is also going to be consistent. And what that does also helps them with the unexpected. If they already have a language and a foundation for talking about the cancer, then if something unexpected happens, like they come home and a parent is at the hospital, it's a lot easier to explain why. Remember those cancer cells? Well, mom got a fever. She had to go to the hospital. They're going to take a close eye on her and she'll be back as soon as she's better. So it's a little, you don't feel like you have to talk about everything when those unexpected moments happen, because you already have some language for discussing it. Obviously, when dealing with cancer, things feel really out of control. And that's true both for adults and kids. Something simple that can give kids a sense of control is providing really simple choices. And it might be choices that are just really random, like, do you want to sit here or here? But what that does is it gives them a sense of control. Like, I can choose something when things feel really chaotic. And also giving them choices for how involved they want to be. Maybe they can make a picture for their parent at the hospital, or maybe they can visit. It depends on the hospital and clinic's rules, but kind of giving them choices about how involved they want to be. And then keeping things consistent. So this is obviously a lot easier said than done. What I mean by that is giving parents, those who are here tonight who are parents, that opportunity to still parent through typical growth and development. Like, things are still happening. Kids are needing help with homework, or are needing, wanting to show you something new that they learned. And a lot of times kids will tell me like, I don't want to bother my parent. They're dealing with so much. And then I hear from parents like, I want nothing more than to help my kid, play basketball or do their homework, because that feels normal to me. And so really important to have those opportunities both for kids and parents to, to feel like things are the same. And what that also can mean is maintaining some structure and routine. And I kid, but even rules. Kids do, benefit from predictability. So whatever is normal in your house, in your routine, trying as much as possible to keep some of that the same, whether that's, the morning routine, or, how they spend their free time or things like that. And then giving kids that sense of purpose, like, oh, school is my job or sports is my job, like gives them that feeling of purpose when everything else feels really unstable. And the last tip is about sharing feelings. So this could be about, all feelings. I think that we as parents often want our kids to feel happy, and that's a realistic emotion, but there's also a lot of other emotions that can come with cancer. And so being able to model that for kids, like, I feel a little bit worried right now, or I feel really tired right now. And here's what I'm going to do about it. Helping model for them that, like, this is an okay way to feel. Here's a way that I can deal with that. And so, of course, like, for the little ones, that might mean just taking care of you and being able to vocalize, like, oh, I'm really stressed right now. Like, I need a deep breath, or I need a pause, because kids just need so much from us, but yet we have to take care of ourselves in order to be able to be there for them. And I get asked a lot, about this concept of balancing hope with realistic expectations for kids. And so, of course, I know for some families that can mean faith, really, being grounded to your faith, to what you believe in, to what you are praying for, and holding hope for kids that, like, yes, we're all hoping for the same thing. And this is the information that we have right now, right? Like, this is I'm taking the medicine's trying to get rid of those cancer cells. And we are so hopeful that it will help and work. And kind of balancing those two things at the same time can definitely be helpful to really, like, create that balance for kids. Like, this is what we know and this is what we believe. And both of those things are really important. Okay. I did this before and I talked kind of fast, but it's because I just think, hearing from families themselves is so, so valuable. And so I would love to spend a lot of time hearing from all of our amazing panelists tonight, because they can just say it so much better than I can in terms of your own lived experiences of talking to your little kids, big kids, and every age in between as a parent and caregiver yourself. So thank you. We have 4 amazing families here tonight to share their own experience. And I'm going to turn it over to Ashley Dedmon with Living Beyond Breast Cancer to moderate our panel. So Ashley, I'll turn it over to you. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Kelsey. And thank you to the Pickles Group for being the convener, for having this conversation, and to the entire team for hosting all of us. My name is Ashley Dedmon. I work at Living Beyond Breast Cancer as our Vice President of Mission Delivery. I am also a caregiver. I was a teen caregiver of 2 parents with cancer. My mother had metastatic breast cancer, and my father is a prostate cancer survivor. So Casey, a lot of what you were talking about, I definitely could connect and relate to. And, I really believe I am where I am today, and I'm the advocate that I am today because my parents had open and honest and ongoing conversations with me. And so I'm so thankful for what they shared, when they shared, and the information that they chose to share with me. So super excited to be here today with 4 amazing families. And I'm not going to introduce them. I want them to introduce themselves and their family. And then we're going to kick it into some questions. So I'm going to start with Michael, and then we will go to Michelle, LaShawn, and Tamika.
Thank you, Ashley. And I appreciate Zero for bringing me into this space, Zero, the End of Prostate Cancer, which is a national advocacy organization. So I appreciate them for looping me into this conversation. My name is Michael Roy. I am a prostate cancer survivor. I was diagnosed, I always say it was on accident, when I was only 36 years old. I had no symptoms at all. I'd actually just moved from Houston to Austin for a job promotion. And I tell people that in hindsight, I like to think I thought I was moving here for a job promotion, but it was really to save my life because I'd been going to the doctor regularly in Houston. And because I didn't meet the recommendation, no doctor was going to test my prostate levels. And also, I'd never discussed it. I never brought it up. It wasn't something that I was aware existed in my family. Come to find out, it does exist in my family, and we just never talked about it. So I'm an identical twin as well. I also have an older brother, neither of which have gone to be tested. And I've been a survivor since 2019. So for me as a man, it's really important to share my message because certainly, I mean, I think in multicultural communities, we don't like to share, but men as well don't like to share. So I feel like it's my duty being a survivor to do this work. I'm a father of two girls. They're 15 and 10 now. They were in elementary school when I was diagnosed. Been married to my wife for 19 years. She's actually here. My girls are at camp and my wife and I are on a staycation. So we're just trying to get some chill time in. But yeah, so love being a dad. I know I could touch on that a little bit later, but high level, I'm a senior public affairs manager. I manage public affairs for the city of Austin and Texas Department of Transportation. And so that's what I do professionally, but I'm always available to talk about health and wellness and being able to speak up and speak out and being an advocate for yourself. So thank you to everybody. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you, Michael. And tell your wife thank you for allowing us to have you for an hour on this important topic. And you all enjoy your time together.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Next, I believe, was it Michelle? Did I say Michelle? Michelle, can you introduce yourself, the organization you are representing, and a little bit about you and your family?
Hi, everyone. My name is Michelle Anderson Benjamin. I am a young advocate for living beyond breast cancer. I was first diagnosed with stage 1 triple negative breast cancer at the age of 36 in 2020 during the pandemic. At the time, my son was 13 and my daughter was 3. Unfortunately, my cancer came back in 2 years, less than 2 years later, and I am now metastatic. So I'm currently 40 living with metastatic triple negative breast cancer. First woman in my family to have breast cancer, but prostate cancer does run heavy in my family. So I took this journey and made it my mission. This logo right here is actually my foundation, the Fearless Warrior Project that I started with my 7-year-old daughter. This is actually a picture of her that's graphicked out. My kids have been my reason and my purpose on why I do what I do from the very beginning. This is also a picture of them in the back at one of our cancer walks that we do in Harlem every year, hosted by Shades of a Cure. I work in healthcare. I work at one of the top cancer hospitals in New York City. So cancer has been my life prior to becoming a cancer patient, but my children have really been my inspiration and my reason on why I do what I do. And thank you again for the opportunity tonight.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you for joining us on all the great work that you do, not only with our organization, but with several other organizations. And also, I heard you talk about family history with, you having a prostate cancer as well in your family. And that family history is so important. And we are also in National Black Cancer Awareness Week. And so that is another time where we acknowledge this conversation as well. I believe next we had LaShawn and then Tamika. LaShawn, can you introduce yourself and the organization you're representing and a little bit about you and your family?
Yes. Good evening, everyone. My name is LaShawn Shelby, and I'm representing the Pickles Group. And I was diagnosed last year at the age of 37 with breast cancer. And it has been a road. I'm currently, I just finished my last treatment last week, and I'm getting ready for surgery next month. But I am a mother of 4 children. I have a 14-year-old, a 13-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a 6-year-old. And I've been married for almost 15 years as well. And I live in Southern Arizona. I work as a financial planner and advisor. And breast cancer, I would say I am the 3rd person that I know with breast cancer. My dad has 2 sisters who were diagnosed with breast cancer. He himself and his brother were diagnosed with prostate cancer, and their mom was diagnosed with colon cancer. And so I know they're all kind of related. So I had been on alert, but I was not getting screened. But I did mention this to different providers, but I didn't know that I should have been screened, given my family history. And I found the lump doing a self-exam. And in August, it just took me a while to get what do you call it? The mammograms. So it took me a while to get seen and get an appointment, and I didn't advocate for myself to push for that mammogram sooner. So but I'm glad to be here today and to speak with everyone and share my story.
Thank you, LaShawn. And we are sending love for completing your treatment and hugs and healing and recovery for your surgery that's coming up soon.
Thank you.
And then next we have Tamika and her family. They're joining us. Tamika, can you share with us who you're representing and a little bit about you and your family and your kiddos who you have right there with you?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for having us. And I am representing Sisters Working It Out. Thank you for including us in this conversation. My name is Tamika, of course, and I was diagnosed with stage 0 cancer, April of 2023. I believe I heard Mike say I had no symptoms whatsoever. I just went for a regular routine breast exam. And from there, I was told that I had breast cancer. But I always say my story is just a little different because I always say that this wasn't given to me just for me. This had to happen just for me to help someone. I just believe it may sound crazy, but it happened that way because and cancer did not run in my family. I actually just lost my mom a few weeks ago, but no cancer. My dad didn't have cancer. I'm the only one that I know of that was diagnosed with cancer, but I caught it early. So I had no treatment, no chemo, no radiation, and I'm so grateful for that. I did have to have the double mastectomy, but I'm just grateful to be here and to share my story.
Tamika, and can you share who you have with you?
Of course, I have my daughter Trinity, which is 16, and then I have my son Antoine. We call him AJ. He's 18.
Nice to meet you, Trinity and AJ. Thank you for joining us.
Appreciate you for having us.
And Tamika, before we kick it into the first question, you said something. So I heard a lot about family health, family history. And I'm not going to speak too far outside my scope, but it's so important to know that there can be a family history of cancer, but there may not be. And so it's really important that everybody, talk with your doctor, know your normal, know your body. And if there's any type of change, share that information with your doctors. So we're going to kick it into the first question. And this is a question for all of us, for all of you. And then we will just allow the conversation to just evolve organically. I'm going to start with Michelle. Michelle, can you share with us some benefits of discussing cancer with your children, with your kids? And then again, if you just want to pop in next to answer that question, there's no formal order.
So when I was initially diagnosed, I was very intentional to make sure that my kids knew they were the priority. And by doing that, when I found out and I got the final, you have cancer conversation, I kind of knew that I had to have a plan in place on how I was going to execute things going forward. Unfortunately, I didn't have a lump, so I didn't have a lump or There wasn't a lump. My breast started leaking blood and it just didn't stop. So the first line of treatment was of removing my right breast. And what I did is on my way home, I had called my family and had like everybody at my house. And my kids were there. And when I walked in, the first thing I did was grab my two kids and brought them in the room first. And I had a conversation with them first. My son was 13 at the time. My daughter was 3. And I just basically told them like, mommy found out today she has a cold and she's going to be sick for a while. And I didn't really like go in depth about it in front of my 3-year-old because I knew that the conversation needed to be different and tailored different around with her than my 13-year-old. But I already, started resourcing ways how I could have that conversation. And one of the biggest things that worked for me is Shades of a Cure. The founder, her name is Diamond Shamgar. She has a series of coloring books called What is Cancer? And one of them is a breast cancer edition, where I was able to color and interact with my daughter and have that discussion in full depth, because my daughter is, although she's 3, she is 13 and 15 at 3 years old. She's going to ask those questions. She's always been a go-getter. She's always been very, very affirmed and very empowered and very inquisitive about what's going on. And I knew it just wasn't going to be, oh, mommy's going to be sick for a while. She's going to ask questions. So I knew I needed to come a little harder, a little different with her. And it had to be a real conversation. But by doing that, I did that showing them that they are my priority. And even when I came out that room and I had my family all waiting in the living room, I made it very clear that, this is what it is. I need you guys to be in play for them. I'm good. I know what I need to do. I need the village to step up. And by doing so, what I did is, at the time, kids were doing remote learning. So my son was already home. I already knew that I couldn't hide nothing from my kids because they're going to see everything. They home. So I got, I do my daughter's hair every couple of weeks. I got someone that did her hair and scheduled her every 6 weeks, like routine. My son was in his last year of middle school, about to go to high school. He had to do high school auditions because he's a performing arts student. Got him a homework tutor, got him a local coach, got him someone to tutor him during the week to assist, because I knew that I wouldn't be that mom that I'm always right there to assist. I wouldn't be as available as I normally am. And I didn't want them to feel like they were suffering because of what was going on. But what I realized by doing that and giving and showing them that they were the priority, they took on a leadership role on their own. Where, when I was walking around with one breast, my daughter's like, so that one had the cancer and not that one? Well, let me help you wash that one and let me take care of you. And, let's go on Amazon and let me order the nurse set so I can help you when you sick. Oh, your hair is falling out. Let's order this wig, the Mohana wig from Amazon, so that you have options to wear a wig if you want to. Like, I allowed her to express her feelings her way. And then also with my son, having those conversations with him in doing so. And what has happened and has evolved is 2 children that are very in tune and very hands-on on my advocacy. I collaborate with Tiger Lily, Touch, LBBC, For the Breast of Us, and I travel a lot in this community, and everybody knows who Offset is, because Offset makes it a point to introduce herself, and she's 7. Offset is part of this journey of mine. She understands the assignment even at 7. And just from a mom's perspective, that superpower cape that she has at 7, that like, no worry about this, mom, I got this. I got your back. We're going to do this together. It reassures me, because I know this journey just doesn't stop at me. She has to have mammograms at 25, and she's going to be able to advocate for herself probably better than me, right?
Absolutely.
But that's the dream.
Absolutely.
That's the dream. So she even writes blogs. She says she wants to write a book. I got her own publishing company. She does, like, she at 7 has a vision, because she sees how her mom stepped up to the plate that way, and how I took the initiative. And a lot of people will often ask, how was it for you to talk to your children about those things? Like, weren't you scared about their emotional state? And one of the things that I really emphasize is that I'd rather my kids hear from me.
Absolutely.
Hear from Google.
Yeah. Michelle,
Because go ahead.
no, I was going to say you have been prior to your diagnosis, I know you were an amazing role model, and you still are an amazing role model for your daughter. And when I hear you talk about her advocacy and how she is there with you and helping you through, and that's truly through having an amazing mom. And you, as you said, you are preparing her to be an advocate for her health and herself. And that's so important. Y'all, we are like, it's Juneteenth. We're around with family. You're sitting in our folding chairs around the barbecue pit. So I'm gonna pass it to Michael.
Okay.
Michael, share with us, same question. What were some of the benefits of discussing cancer with your kids? And what were some of the hardest and most challenging parts? Michelle shared hers, that we would love to hear from you.
Yeah. So oddly, the night I was diagnosed, and to go back a little bit, the whole time, from the time that my primary doctor tested my PSA and told me, I didn't ask her to test my PSA, but she did. I'm grateful she did. From the time that whole thing started, when she's saying your PSA is elevated and, we need to check into this, from that moment all the way to when I had the biopsy, all the way to the day I found out that I had cancer. I never got worried that whole time because I felt like I was really in tune with my body. I felt like I would know if something was going on. And I was really thinking more of like, I want to do whatever the doctor's telling me so we can rule this out. I really never, and maybe that was God sparing my nerves, but I never thought that I had cancer until I was told. And so the night that I actually was told I had cancer, my daughters were in the doctor's office with me. They were playing at my feet, and my wife was standing right next to me. And I talk about this all the time. The actual moment that the doctor told me I had cancer, I actually never heard him say it. I know he said it, but I think that my mind, because it was so heavy, for some reason, I never heard it. I only knew he said it because I looked to my left and my wife is crying and she's rubbing my back. And I'm like, did I miss something? And so the doctor repeated himself again and said, yes, you have aggressive stage 2 prostate cancer. And and that hit me like a brick. But that night driving home, I said that night, I didn't know what was ahead. I didn't know what it would look like, but I said, first and foremost, I want to be an advocate. I want to speak up in whatever way, but I'm also, as soon as I get out this car, as soon as we get home, I'm going to go in the house and I'm going to look my girls in the face and I'm going to tell them, Daddy's got something going on with him right now. I didn't say cancer because, everybody hears the C word and just panic. And, they were in elementary, but they were, just like Michelle saying, like they with it, you know what I mean? They would have hit me with a zillion questions if I said cancer, but I did say, girls, we were just at the doctor's office, now granted, they weren't really listening to the conversation. They were playing. They were just in the office with us playing, but I was able to reference that because they were just with us. So I said, we were just at the doctor's office. Daddy got some hard news and it's going to be a long road ahead, but I want y'all to know. And I told them this, and honestly, y'all, even as I say it right now, I feel like it was nothing but God giving me the power to say it. But I told my girls right then and there, I got on my knees and I looked both of them in the eyes and I said, Dad, Dad's going to be, you're going to see Dad down, you're going to see Dad sick, Dad's going to be going through some things, but I'm going to come out of it. I'm going to, and I'm going to be there for your wedding and I'm going to be there for your graduation. And I just kind of spoke that, even though I had no idea, to be honest. I really didn't know that, but I definitely wanted to give them hope. And I did believe that in my soul that I would be here. And so that was just my thought process. Like, I just felt like, because I talk to my girls about everything, like we just talk, I always encourage them to talk to me about everything. So I didn't even want to, I didn't even want to wait till the next day. I just felt like they were top priority. I wanted to say it in a way that they could consume it at that moment. Of course, we could go on a little bit more as time went on and we could delve into it a little bit more in my mind. And so that's really how I did it.
I love how you said, you had to speak life into your situation.
Yes.
And, I'm sure for your girls that gave them some comfort. My dad had to tell me about his diagnosis. I was in college and so I was the receiver of that information. And so I know that definitely gave them some comfort. Tamika, can you share with us, same question, the benefits of discussing cancer with your children and some of the most hardest or challenging moments?
Of course, is it okay if my children chime in as well?
Absolutely.
Yeah, y'all want to talk about the benefits and go ahead, and the hardest.
For sure, I could say probably the benefits of something that we stress a lot in the household, or my mom stress a lot, is being able to let her know about a lot of things, not hiding anything from her, and building that relationship where we can come to each other for anything. And I felt like that was the same for what she had going on. So like the day she found out she was diagnosed with cancer, she came right to us and spoke to us about it, because like the things that she teaches us is being there for each other, and knowing that we got, basically we all we got. And I mean, if we not being honest with each other, then you know what I'm saying, we ain't getting nowhere. But she definitely, the day she got diagnosed with cancer, she came in, she brought us to the room, just as everybody else brought us in the room, and talked to us and just let us know what was going on. Then sugarcoat it, let us know what was going on, and that you know we worried a little bit, but as time went on, we prayed about it a lot. Strong faith in God. Prayed about it a lot. Over time, things started to get better, and we just kept trusting in God most of the time. And yeah, it just brought us more together as a family.
Thank you, AJ, for sharing that.
Jump in. Go. Well, like my son just said, when I found out that I was diagnosed, I have an oldest daughter. She was actually at the doctor with me when we found out, and we just came home and we set them down, and we did have this discussion about me having cancer. I just went straight in. I didn't, like he said, I didn't sugarcoat anything. And of course, we were scared. We didn't know. We haven't had no knowledge of cancer. Didn't, just never crossed our mind or any of that. But like AJ said, that through prayer, through family support, we was able to make it through. They were there every step of the way for me, every surgery, every doctor's appointment. They was there, and yeah, we're here now.
I love it. I love it. Thank you both for sharing. And it sounds like, just from what I'm hearing from everybody, faith has played a key role, a pivotal role, a foundational role, right? In your family and in your experiences. LaShawn, I'm going to kick it to you for the same question. We would love to hear from you.
Okay. Having the discussion with my children, it gave me freedom, because from the time that I found my lump, it was August, until the time I got diagnosed was December. So I felt like I was just hiding from my kids, sneaking around to appointments. And it was one particular time I had to go get a MRI. And I told my daughters, oh, I couldn't take them to school. I was going to, I had a meeting. I didn't realize I was sharing my location with my children and my family. And my daughter, she actually did believe, she started to get suspicious. My oldest daughter was 14. She looked up my location, and by the time I was out, why are you at radiology? Why are you here? And I was like, oh, I had a business meeting there. That's my client. So I felt like I was lying to my parents, with my daughter watching me, tracking my location. And so I just knew I had to tell them, because it was just getting harder and harder to sneak around. And so I decided to tell them. I got diagnosed early December. I decided to tell them after Christmas, because the hardest part, I felt like I was going to ruin their Christmas experience. And, I have this big bomb to drop on them. So that just made me so nervous to talk with them about it. And I ended up having to speak with a social worker to relieve some of my nerves, and praying about it and everything. And so I had the conversation with them after I had to go get my port in, because I knew I couldn't hide the bandage just coming all the way up here. So after I got my port, and I had to have that conversation with them, and it was a very hard conversation to have. I was very, very nervous. I think that was like almost scarier than getting a diagnosis for me. And I just knew I had to go in there with a, a spirit of hope and not fear with talking to my children, because they pick up on my emotions and my feelings. And so I knew telling other people I couldn't say it without crying, and talking to my kids, I didn't want to cry. So that was like my main goal. I'm not going to cry in front of them because they're going to start crying immediately, and we won't really, we'll be caught up in our emotions and won't really have a discussion. So I didn't cry. Um, and I remember having a spirit of hope with them. And as I had the conversations with them, and we even joked about it a little bit, I was like, my hair is going, it might change and things might change. You can go wig shopping with me, just trying to include them in the process, and um just trying to figure out how I could support them, and just asking them what their needs were, and going over questions that they had. This is with my older two. For my younger children, I had a different conversation with them. It was they're 6 and 7. So I showed them where I had my port, and just explained, mommy's going to be getting medicine here because I had cancer, and I just wanted them to be familiar with the word and just explain the process. You can't jump on mommy, you know, just try to let them know I would try to keep their lives as normal as possible, and that we'll have help from grandma and grandpa. They'll be coming in, so that your lives remain normal, and that this doesn't have a big effect on you, as much as possible. So that
Wow.
was the benefits and the hardest parts for me.
Thank you for sharing. We have about 4 minutes left, but I want to ask each of you one question. Y'all, we're at the cookout. Frankie Beverly and Maze is playing, y'all. So we're having a good old time. I see Michael. Yes, yes. That feeling when you hear that bass, that drop, that bass drop, right? So the last question, I'm gonna start with Michael and then go to LaShawn, Tamika, and then Michelle. Michael, share with us, what advice do you have for other parents that are thinking about talking about cancer with their children? And it can be parents in general, it can be men. We just came off of Father's Day. Please share with us.
I'm gonna say, listening to you ask that question, my immediate response was, we have to have a conversation. Like, it has to be had. You might can push it off a little bit long, but you have to have a conversation. Obviously, take the time to gather your thoughts. Your kids, so you want to make sure the message is being created with them in mind, right? So that they can understand it in a way that they can understand it. But we just really got to get out of, we got to talk about it, right? Yeah, our kids, that's probably hard, but that's a great place to start, because we just got to we got to be comfortable with just letting people know what's going on with us, because that's the only way we can help other people. Obviously, it is different with kids, but when they become adults, they will remember that, because they themselves may very well find themselves in that same or similar position. Maybe they might be a caregiver, and they will refer back to that very moment when their parent shared with them something that wasn't easy to share. And it's modeling for them, like, it's not going to always be roses, you know what I mean? And so we got to be able to talk about it even when it's not easy to talk about. So that would be my immediate response was, take the time to think about how you want to frame your messaging to your kids or to whomever it is, especially your kids, but just know that it needs to be done, and set your intention on doing it, as I would say, as soon as you can. The sooner the better.
Absolutely. Thank you, Michael.
Yeah.
LaShawn, I'm going to kick it to you. What advice do you have for talking about cancer with kids for other parents?
As Kelsey mentioned earlier, having open, honest conversation with your child. You don't have to tell them everything. I don't believe in telling my kids everything, but I do believe in having a honest conversation with them with what I want them to know. Also, get them involved, figure out a way that they would get involved in their own way. So like I have my daughters, they fixed lunches for my younger kids. And so it was things that they can do that they wanted to do to help because they want to be involved. They want to be helpful. So just figuring out what are their strengths and weaknesses and just let them lead you. You know, they'll tell you what they want to do or don't want to do, and they will also ask questions. And if you don't know the answer, it's okay to say, I don't know. And let's look at this, look this up together and just use your resources as well. I got pickles. I was involved with pickles, so that helped me to expand my conversation with my children. So that was something I wanted them to do and connect and talk with other kids who are also going through it and see what they're talking about with their parents. So that will get them to open up a little bit more to me, and we can have an ongoing dialogue throughout the process. So
Absolutely. Thank you, LaShawn. Tamika, and then we're going to kick it to Michelle and then back to Kelsey to close this out.
Okay, like everyone just said, be as open and honest as possible with your children. Let them see what's going on. Let them see you go through it and come out of it. You know, let them watch. If my mom can go through that and come out of it, I know I can get through anything. So yeah, just be open and honest. Of course, make sure they are involved, especially at teenage 18 and 16. Make sure that they're involved and know what's going on. And yeah, pretty much just be open and honest as possible.
Michelle?
Most importantly, don't be afraid to have these conversations with your children, especially if the goal is legacy building. It's very important that our children see us and see how we act under pressure, how we deal with life obstacles. It helps gives them the tools and the foundation for themselves as they grow older, but it also allows them to tap into their own leadership roles and having a voice and encouraging that, because you'll be surprised of the individuals that you see transform right in front of your eyes. While they see you going through this journey, they're growing up right before you, and they're taking on the torch without you even asking. And you're seeing them manifest into what you want them to be, that strong, independent, empowered individual. And then they start speaking to you in ways where you become the student and they are the teacher. And because a lot of times we keep kids bottled in a box because we feel that they're young, but sometimes you have to allow them to be out to see how they interact and how they will how they either they pivot or they don't, and be able to walk them through those journeys. So, it is a hard conversation, especially as an individual that's, if you're being diagnosed and you're still trying to process it yourself. And that's when I really encourage you to always tap into your mental health. Get you a therapist or a coach, someone that can walk you through the process for you to first understand what's going on with you. And also tools or ways that you can now speak to others about it as well.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Thank you all. Michelle, Michael, LaShawn, Tamika, thank you all so much for spending your afternoon, your Juneteenth Eve with us. Haley, Zero, sisters, walking it out. Kelsey, I'm going to kick it back to you to close this out and to share more about our partner organizations and important dates coming up.
Yeah. Wow. I think that's like the best barbecue I've ever been to. missing the music, missing the food, and missing the hugs. But you all are amazing and powerful voices. There are so many quotes that I want to just like take away to share with our broader community. So thank you. And yeah, just lots of love and prayers to your families. I want to make sure that if there are any families here tonight who have young kids who could benefit from Pickles Group's Connect Over Cancer program, that you enroll. Our enrollment closes on Friday for summer programs. So we are going to put the link in the chat, but we'll also send a follow-up email with that link. If you're a healthcare provider, please make sure families enroll by Friday. We would love to make sure that families have this additional layer of support over the summer months. And I know we are tight on time, but I do want to give each organization representative a chance to share a little bit more about their organization. At the very least, please put your links in the chat so people can find them. And as I shared, I'll be sending a follow-up email. I forgot to turn my video back on. I turned myself off so we could see more of you. So I'll be sending out a follow-up email with links to all of the organizations, as well as the PDF of the slides and attached additional resources as well. But Haley, is there anything that you wanted to share briefly with this amazing group of people?
Yes, just really, really quickly, at Touch, we really focus on Black breast cancer. My mom is a 12-year triple negative survivor. So, you know, I too was on the receiving end of a lot of these conversations that we've had before. And so thank you guys. Also, thank you to the panel. That was amazing. I think it resonated with so many of the various things that were said. And at Touch, we really focus on the science of it, but also tackling that science with some preventative steps that we can take as Black families in this work. And so we have a bunch of different programming about clinical trials, ways that advocacy organizations can work together to build community and make sure we're not, doing the same things, not reinventing the wheel here. And then for Love of My Girls program truly focuses on young Black women. You can see some of our resources here. You're going to get, all of this information in your email tomorrow, but our Her Story worksheet is great. It goes way beyond breast cancer as well. It talks about prostate, ovarian, hypertension, diabetes, things that are happening in Black families, in a way for us to start those conversations that may feel taboo in some of our homes, right? And allow for us to really, I taught elementary school. That's how I got involved in pickles to begin with. And so I made a worksheet, so please use it. But we have a lot of really, really great stuff, especially about how to advocate for yourself and all of that. So I'll put our website in the chat as well, and then check out the resources that you get in the mail.
I see, Ashley, you added your website. Anything else you want to share about living beyond breast cancer?
Absolutely. I just want to share, we have a Reading for Reassurance program, which offers free books for people newly diagnosed to help talk about a diagnosis with children in their lives. Different books for different ages, plus discussion guides to help have ongoing conversations. And I will drop that link in the chat.
Beulah, Sisters Working It Out.
Thank you so much for inviting us. Tanika, I really appreciate you and your children for showing up today. We thank God for your life. We thank you for representing us working out today. We do, just like the rest of our partners, we do some amazing things in the community. We do food insecurity. We have our Day of Beauty coming up this year, at the end of the year. And we're so happy. We do transportation to get the family to and from their doctors and their treatment appointments. So I think we're doing some amazing things right here in Chicago. So we appreciate you guys having us. Thank you.
Sorry, I didn't mean to bump ahead too quickly. My finger slipped, but Zero.
Okay, I'm done. I'm done. Thank you.
The slides are going to everybody. I don't think we have a representative here besides Michael from Zero Prostate Cancer, unless I missed someone. But we definitely have the information here, and we'll include it in the slide deck as well as their website. Thank you. Thank you so